It all began on a tense morning in the packed courtroom when Judge Clarence Thomas, a figure known for his stern approach and unshakable demeanor, found himself face-to-face with Congresswoman and attorney Jasmine Crockett. The air was thick with anticipation as people gathered, aware that sparks could fly when two such formidable personalities clashed. Judge Thomas, maintaining a cool exterior, raised concerns about Crockett's recent legal maneuvers, which he believed bordered on contempt of court. Without hesitation, he moved to initiate proceedings that could see Crockett jailed for what he described as blatant disrespect for judicial decorum. The announcement shocked the attendees. Many murmured among themselves, not expecting the situation to escalate so dramatically. Jasmine Crockett, however, remained composed, her eyes unwavering as she absorbed the accusations being thrown her way. She requested permission to address the court directly, a move that immediately captured everyone's attention, even Thomas, who allowed it with a skeptical nod. Crockett stood up, adjusting her blazer calmly, and approached the bench with the confidence of someone who had prepared her entire life for moments like this. She began by respectfully challenging the accusations, pointing out the very laws and precedents that protected her actions under the Constitution. Her voice was steady but powerful, citing case after case where similar charges had been dismissed when due process wasn't properly observed. Thomas listened, but his initial skepticism remained clear on his face. Yet, as Crockett continued, weaving a compelling narrative rooted firmly in constitutional law, citing not only federal cases but also quoting Thomas' own prior opinions on similar issues, the courtroom began to shift. Even seasoned clerks and bailiffs could feel it. Crockett was not merely defending herself as she was constructing an ironclad argument that was methodical, precise, and absolutely devastating to the case being built against her. Judge Thomas's demeanor began to change, ever so slightly, as Crockett systematically dismantled the accusations point by point. She referenced judicial ethics guidelines, demonstrating that the attempt to jail her without affording her a complete and fair hearing was not just questionably, it was a direct violation of her rights. Her words carried the weight of decades of legal tradition behind them. Those in the gallery, initially wary of the confrontation, now leaned forward, riveted by the mastery she displayed. Crockett didn't attack Thomas personally. She let the law speak for itself, and it spoke volumes. Each example she presented was sharp, leaving little room for rebuttal. Her confidence was infectious. Even some of the opposing counsel shifted uncomfortably in their seats, realizing the tide was turning at a remarkable pace. By the time Crockett concluded her impassioned but meticulously reasoned argument, there was a heavy silence in the room. She didn't raise her voice once she didn't need to. Her words had the force of 1,000 hammers hitting the same precise spot. Judge Thomas, typically immovable and unflinching, looked down at his notes longer than usual before clearing his throat. It was apparent to everyone present that he had not anticipated this level of resistance, especially not resistance that was so legally sound that it could not be dismissed without risking serious professional embarrassment. Crockett returned to her seat, calm and composed. As Thomas called for a brief recess, he needed time, that much was obvious, to figure out how to proceed without deepening what was fast becoming a colossal miscalculation. As the recess dragged on, legal analysts in the room began exchanging hushed conversations about the brilliance of Crockett's defense. Some even speculated whether this encounter would become a pivotal case study in law schools across the nation. Jasmine Crockett had shown not only bravery but also unmatched expertise under pressure. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, Judge Thomas met with his clerks and senior advisors, poring over the documentation and transcripts of the morning's proceedings. The realization hit him hard. Crockett had outmaneuvered him legally in full view of the public, and any punitive action against her now would almost certainly be overturned on appeal and would likely tarnish his judicial reputation permanently. When the session resumed, Judge Thomas appeared visibly altered. The confident firmness of earlier was replaced with a cautious, almost weary restraint. He addressed the courtroom, acknowledging that upon further review, the court found insufficient grounds to proceed with contempt charges against Crockett, though he tried to couch it in legal language to save face. Everyone knew exactly what had happened. Crockett nodded respectfully but said nothing. Her silence at that moment spoke louder than any words could. She had stood up to the full weight of the judicial system and emerged victorious, not through theatrics or outrage, but through mastery of the law. Thomas's regret was not only apparent, it was historic. The aftermath was immediate and explosive. News outlets scrambled to cover the story, with legal analysts praising Crockett's composure, brilliance, and unflinching commitment to her principles. Clips of her argument went viral online within hours, being shared across platforms with captions like "This is how you fight for justice" and "Masterclass in the courtroom." Students, young lawyers, and even seasoned attorneys found inspiration in how Crockett defended not just herself, but the very ideals that the legal system is supposed to uphold. Thomas, meanwhile, faced a wave of criticism for what many perceived as a blatant misuse of his authority. His reputation, though once considered untouchable, had taken a serious hit. In the following days, Crockett's influence only grew. Invitations to speak at universities, legal forums, and political events flooded her office. She took it all in stride, choosing her engagements carefully, always emphasizing that her defense wasn't about ego or personal victory. It was about protecting the rights of everyone who might find themselves in a courtroom without the power or platform to defend themselves as she had. Her humility and integrity shone through, further endearing her to the public and solidifying her role as a new face of modern legal advocacy. Thomas's mistake had inadvertently created a new icon for justice reform. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Judge Thomas initiated efforts to rebuild his credibility. He participated in interviews where he spoke about reflecting on the responsibilities of power and published essays on the importance of judicial restraint and fairness. It was clear he was trying to course correct, but the damage was already done. Many believed it would take years, if ever, for him to regain the trust he had lost that day. In private legal circles, the story became something of cautionary tale, underestimating the preparation, intelligence, and sheer will of someone like Jasmine Crockett could have consequences that extended far beyond a single courtroom drama. Crockett herself used the momentum to push for systemic changes. She advocated for new legislation that would impose stricter guidelines on judicial behavior regarding contempt charges and punishments. Her proposals gained bipartisan support, an almost unheard-of phenomenon in today's political climate. People respected that she wasn't just focused on her personal triumph but was leveraging it to build better protections for future litigants and attorneys alike. In interviews, she spoke eloquently about the need for accountability across all levels of government and the justice system, drawing on her recent experience as a vivid illustration of the stakes involved. Reflecting on the entire ordeal during a televised interview, Crockett said, "Power without accountability becomes tyranny. Our courts must be places where justice is served, not where fear is wielded as a weapon." Her words resonated deeply with millions. It wasn't just that she had defeated an attempt to imprison her unjustly, it was that she reminded everyone watching what true courage under fire looked like. In facing down Judge Thomas and prevailing, Jasmine Crockett proved that preparation, knowledge, and unbreakable spirit could turn even the most daunting odds into an opportunity to inspire real, lasting change. In the end, the attempted jailing of Jasmine Crockett would go down not as a moment of judicial triumph but as a powerful turning point in American legal history. It showed the world that not even the highest-ranking judge was above being challenged when they overstepped. Crockett's victory wasn't just her own, it belonged to every citizen who ever felt powerless in the face of authority. Judge Thomas's regret was real and deep, but so too was the newfound hope in countless hearts that true justice, though hard-fought, was still possible when someone brave enough stood their ground and spoke truth to power.